Get ready to uncover this insider Airbnb hack that's going to turbocharge your earnings by thousands of dollars. The City of Vancouver and City Hall does not want you to know about this, so buckle up. I'm going to take you exactly through how to change your legal suite into a single family dwelling treasure trove. But remember, keep this information between you and me. But as always, before we get into the nuts and bolts here, let's go over some housekeeping as per usual. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, or relocate to my beautiful city of Vancouver, I am Kyle Mark, your Vancouver Realtor. All my information is in the description below, so make sure you book a call with me so I can set you up for real estate success. So let's get into the untapped opportunity of changing from your legal suite to a single family dwelling unit. And yes, every single word in that definition matters. So the reason why you would want to do something like this is to A, maximize your earnings, and to B, get a lot more insurance in terms of protection of your asset. As the province had initiated huge regulations for what can and cannot be done with a short-term rental, obviously within the city of Vancouver, you already are really restricted with what you can do. But one definition change the province has brought into practice is changing the designation of a short-term rental from 30 days to 90 days. So anyone out there, that is going to make it very, very difficult to have that minimum that the city is going to have to adhere to by May of next year. The reason that I suggest doing something like this in Vancouver, it is a workaround to be able to get control over your home, but still be in compliance with the short-term rental designations. So for myself, I have looked into doing this, and that is why I'm taking you through this step-by-step guide. And as I mentioned previously, the reason why you want to do this is you could potentially, depending on where you're located in Vancouver, you could 1.5 to 2x your rental income. And the biggest reason why I want to do it for myself is to have those protective measures. My previous long-term tenant that I had in my suite just over there caused a lot of damage, several thousands of dollars of damage. They essentially did not pick up the phone after they moved out. They don't want to take responsibility for it. So the half-month damage deposit barely covers the cost of the damage within the unit. And now I have to go in and make a claim against them to keep their damage deposit, because as a landlord, even if someone damages your home, you do have that damage deposit. But if you do not file a resolution with the Civil Resolution Board or the tenancy branch, then you can be the one who is in trouble for not returning that damage deposit if you've kept it more than the specific dates that's set out in the Residential Tenancy Board. So there's a lot of complications for when, even if you're in the right and someone's damaged your property, I now have to go to a resolution board in December for my case to not only keep the damage deposit, but to see if I can even get money out of my previous tenant. If you go and transfer your legal suite to an Airbnb, that protective measure is so much easier. For example, in an Airbnb of mine in the past, we have had someone who damaged our property and actually got arrested. I'll save that story for another day. Cole's note, it was nothing to do with me and the individual. He was hiding out from immigration and was supposed to be back in his home country of China, but was hiding out in my suite. So all of a sudden I had a knock on the door, and there's a bunch of immigration officers out there showing me a picture of an individual, and he got escorted out of my home in handcuffs. But because he was hiding out, he was smoking a bunch of weed, doing things of that nature, and he just, we had to get the place fumigated, buy a whole bunch of new items within the suite to replace it, so we could make sure that the next guest would have a great stay. The customer support with Airbnb is fantastic. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a workaround depending on the service agent, but they do get the job done. So with Airbnb, you have $1 million. So someone, if they damage their property, you will be compensated and you will be able to get your property back up and running to the place that it was before. So in my previous example, we had to buy all new housewares, linens, get it all clean. All those expenses, yes, we had to pay up front, but we just submitted the receipts to Airbnb and they eventually just paid it out back to us. You'll have to provide some photos of what happened, an explanation of what happened. And once they do their investigation, it can wrap up quite shortly and they will reimburse your funds. So you have a lot of protection. Also, as you know, within BC, renters have all the control. So if you have a bad tenant, it's almost impossible to get them out. With short-term renters, if you have someone that is problematic, you can get Airbnb to get involved to have them removed. Or if it's something that's just more of an inconvenience, you know that they're going to be out on a short-term basis. They're not going to be with you for years and years and years. So that is another driving driving force as to why you should change that designation. Is to get protective measures over your home, as well as turbocharging your earnings. Now, if you're as excited as I am to go through this step-by-step guide on how to transform your legal suite to a single family dwelling unit, make sure you keep watching to the end, because I'm going to lay out all those important details near the end of the video. Also, demolish that subscribe button and let's get to the next phase. So the first step in all of this is figuring out where you need to go, and that all comes down to a designation change. So you want to go from a legal suite to a single family dwelling unit, and when you can be in compliance with that, you will be able to Airbnb or short-term rent within your primary residence. But within the city of Vancouver, they've made it very, very hard to understand what's needed to be done. Other municipalities will have a page within the city website of exactly what's needed, a step-by-step guide. The city of Vancouver doesn't have it. You can find a couple brief paragraphs where it talks about removing kitchen appliances, but there's not a real checklist out there. They make it very difficult to figure out what you need to do. And when I even went forward with short-term rental and tried to get in touch with the department to let them know or ask them how I can be in compliance, they will not tell you how to be in compliance. And when I asked them why, she straight out stated that they do not want people doing this. They will not be of any help for a homeowner to decommission their suite, because that is not what they are wanting people to do within the city of Vancouver. So it's been a very frustrating experience. So I'm making this video so you don't have to go through the frustrations, and I can tell you and guide you exactly how to do this. But it's all about that designation change. And do not get in touch with the short-term rental department, because they may put you on their radar, and B, they're not going to help you out whatsoever. In fact, my wife, who's one of the sweetest people in this entire world, when she was trying to get some answers from them, they were so mean and passive, they actually brought her to tears. And I've just found the whole process very appalling. I find if you're a homeowner or anyone else within the city, when you are trying to be in compliance or trying to do something with your own home, you should be guided by the city. The city should be working with you and not against you. And I find that the city and the province is just working against homeowners in so many different aspects, and it's making things very, very difficult. But there is hope, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, so keep on watching. Another huge benefit of changing your designation to a single family dwelling unit is I believe it will increase your property value, but that's only if your realtor really understands what you have done to the home. Like I said, I've fully entrenched in this process, and I really understand all the terminology and what has been done and how to explain it to a potential buyer. But changing that designation will allow future homeowners to have that option, to make more than market value on rent, as well as having flexibility over their own space and protection over their space. Another hidden benefit that I didn't touch on earlier is just the flexibility. The nice thing about short-term rentals, you can maximize perhaps over the summer or throughout other holidays, but you can also block off big chunks of time within the calendar year. So if you have friends or family that are visiting, it is really nice to be able to have a space for them to stay. When you have a long-term tenant, it takes away that guest experience. And that is another reason my wife and I love having the flexibility of a short-term rental within our same space, is due to the fact that family and friends can stay here. A lot of Vancouverites here are transplants, and that means there's family and friends all over the world. So, you know, whether you're expecting a baby and you're wanting mom close by, celebrating friends and family, it is really nice having that flexibility. So that's definitely a huge impactful thing for being able to have a property with a short-term rental designation and being in compliance with both the city and the province. If you're wanting more information on what these Airbnb regulations are that the province set out, make sure you check out one of my previous videos. I'll put a link down below as well as a card up here to make sure that you can check it out. So let's now go into the step-by-step guide of what you need to do to make this transition. So I'm going to give you an overview, and like I said, I'm not a designated carpenter. This is just the information that I have gleaned, and you're going to have to obviously do your due diligence. I'm definitely going to get you well on your way to make you understand what is needed in this designation change. So let's get into the steps on what you need to do to be successful in this designation change. I want to preface this by saying I'm not a contractor or anything like that. This is just something that I've gone through on a personal level. So you're going to make sure that you want to get in touch with the proper professionals to make sure that you do your due diligence and to make sure that everything is 100% in compliance with all the permits and inspections that are required. These steps aren't going to be in order, but I'm going to give you the bulk of the information here so that you can be well on your way. So one thing that is quite ridiculous about this whole process is that it actually doesn't take that much work at all. I know some of the terminology I'm using and the descriptors that I'm using, it sounds like it's this massive, massive project, but really it isn't. The crux of it is you just need to put a plate over your 220 where your stove is. If you have a gas stove in your suite, you got to make sure that, that's going to be plugged off, and essentially putting blanks in the breaker where the stove is and removing your hood fan. Once you remove those kitchen items, you are essentially in compliance, and an electrician can come in and do the bulk of the work. And honestly, within a day or two, you should be able to get this thing up and running and be in compliance. But what is so tacky about this, you actually have to apply for a building permit, and then your electrician has to apply for an electrical permit to do this work. So something that should take just a couple hours, you're going to be waiting likely months until you get your building permit back. So what's really tacky about this whole process is that it's just a big money grab. For something that is so small, like putting a cover over a 220 plate, putting a blank in a breaker, something that's just going to take a couple hours, you actually are going to need to apply for a building permit, which is just crazy. You're going to have to apply for that building permit. I believe it's around $180, and then you're going to have to wait. But within that, you are also going to need to submit official architectural drawings as well. So depending if you have a new home or an older home, they will require some professional drawings to go over the scope of your work. The place that we were in is a brand new build, so I have the drawings already. So I was able to mock up the drawings, send them in, show exactly what we need to do. So for us, like I said, we have an electrical stovetop. So we're gonna remove the stove, put the blank over the cover of the stove, remove the microwave hood fan and the ducting that was going out to the exterior of the home, and then putting the blank in the panel. So something like that was needed, and an electrician can do that in a couple hours. I think the quote that I got from the electrician was around $500 to do the electrical work for that. Then it's just some labor in terms of getting the stove outside of your home, putting a blank on the exterior to make sure that the exhaust is capped off, and then you're essentially ready to go. From there, you will need to remove your upper cabinets. They do not want to see that. Again, that's not on the city website. That's something I found out after the fact from the city inspector. And I believe there's also a designation of how long your counter run can be. I believe it has to be less than 8 feet. If you have a longer kitchen counter run than that, you're gonna have to break that down as well. But lower cabinets are okay. You can have a fridge down there, you can have a stove, a dishwasher, things of that nature, washer dryer, that's all okay. But your cooking station needs to be removed. But the good thing is, for those who know Airbnb, when people stay here, they're only here for a couple of days. They like to go out, they like to go explore, eat, bring food in. So what that means, the stove is not really needed. You can definitely get by without the cooking appliances. You can use electric appliances as well. An electric kettle, as well as an air fryer, is more than enough for people that are here with Airbnb. You can cook eggs in the air fryer. And as well, when you are just usually booking 2 people in your suite, they don't need the whole stove to be run. So it actually will save you a bunch of money. Get another microwave if you so see fit to put on the counter. The microwave just can't be above the stove portion. If you put it somewhere else, that is okay. So those are some things that you can do to combat the kitchen appliance loss. You can definitely get around that, and it will make no difference to your Airbnb. One thing that I suggest, when you do remove the cabinets, when you do remove the stove, make sure that you build that out so it looks a little bit nicer. Maybe you put some more cabinets or make it into a little storage space. But the whole thing about Airbnb is making sure that it looks nice. And even if you are taking out those upper cabinets, what I was told from the inspector, you can have floating shelves, but you can't have the cabinets. And one thing that was silly as well, I said, well, can I just take the fronts off my cabinets to make them floating? He said, no, you have to remove the boxes. So put in some floating shelves, put those cooking appliances like the kettle, the air fryer on those floating shelves. You'll have all the cabinet space, and then just dress up the addition where the stove is away, and then you are well on your way. If you have a gas appliance, you are going to have to remove that gas appliance and the piping. Like I said, make sure that you get in touch with the mechanical provider to make sure how far back that goes. But I believe that you can just cap that off within the wall and be okay. From there, you want to make sure you have access to the main living quarters. So whether you need to cut in a door or just remove the deadbolt, you got to make sure that you have that door in place and you have access from both sides. Along with the removal of the cooking appliances, you will have to put a blank breaker where the connection for your electric stove was, as well as for the hood fan. So that's important for the electrician to do. The electrician will tell you exactly what is needed when they come to your home and you tell them what you are wanting to do. Once you do get that building permit, you will have access to your building inspector. So I encourage you to get in touch with them. They will have their phone number within your profile, because you will have to make a profile within the City of Vancouver website. And that is where you will pull your permit. That's where you will see your file, where the progress is, and where you will have access to contact information for the city inspector. For the most part, I've always had a great relationship and great encounters with the building inspectors. They are very, very informative and nice. I wish they were actually the ones managing the phones in the short-term rental department, because it would ease a lot of the headaches. But they will tell you exactly what is needed. And when you are in compliance with all of these items, you will be able to book an inspection. Then the inspector will come and make sure that you are in compliance with everything that is needed. And once you pass that inspection, you will then get in touch with the short-term rental department, show them that you have changed your designation, and then from there you'll be able to apply for a short-term rental license. Another item that I forgot to mention, and what I was told, when you make this designation change and you go from a legal suite to a single-family dwelling, you'll also save a lot on your property taxes. You pay extra in property taxes for having a legal suite, so removing that designation will also give you a break on your property taxes, which is a huge benefit as well. So I know I've been pumping this up and telling you why you should do this and that this is such a great thing, but I also want to flip the other side of the coin over and talk about reasons why this may not be a great fit for you. Obviously, if you are going through this, there's going to be some upfront costs, there's going to be some construction costs. If you're handy, a lot of this stuff you may be able to do. But when it comes to building permits, getting an electrician, things of that nature, there's obviously a cost to it. If there's some demo work or some patchwork that you need to do, that's going to be having to be fronted by you as well. And there could be some time where you're not going to have a renter in your suite. But like I said, you should be able to recoup any lost costs by having a short-term rental and being able to get more than market rent within your unit. Some other things that I want to preface as well, you're going to have to furnish it. Obviously, if you have an unfurnished space, no one's going to come rent. So you are going to have to furnish your space. So before I go any further, make sure you stay to the very end, because I have one last important piece of information that is required to make sure all this goes through. And it's something so minuscule and something that is not on the website. So you got to make sure to stay to the end, because I'm going to drop this bomb at the end. One thing I want to make you acutely aware is that to be in compliance with this single family dwelling unit, you can only rent out one room to be in compliance with the short-term rental license. So if you have multiple rooms that you're thinking of converting to suite or renting all your suites out, you can't do that. You can only rent out one room. So if you have a 1-bedroom suite, this is perfect. So if you have a 2 or 3 bedroom unit, you may need to really consider if this is going to be worthwhile, as you can only rent out one room under the short-term rental bylaws. So you can really do a risk analysis by seeing what you can get on Airbnb. Go on to Airbnb or VRBO to see what a unit is going for online, and then comparing it with what your monthly rate is. If you think you're going to get more, or if you're wanting that protection, the break in your property taxes, things of that nature, maybe it's worthwhile, but I want you to make sure that you can only rent out one room to be in compliance with this bylaw. So you make it to the very end, we've gone through the steps, we've gone through the items that need to be taken place, and the one item that is extremely important, and I don't think any of you will guess what this is, but when you submit your drawings to the City of Vancouver, when they see your drawings, they will want to see your legal suite designated as a rec room. It can't be anything else. If you have the wrong terminology right off the bat, they will deny your request, and then you're going to have to wait for months and months to reapply. So make sure when you do the drawings and you want to change that designation, and on the architecturals that you say that the new space in your home that is going to be part of your single family dwelling unit will now be considered a rec room. So that is acutely important. Like I said, it's very frustrating at these initial stages when you're waiting for a building permit. There's no one that you can actually phone. You put in a request on an online portal, it'll get back to you in around 10 business days. So then if you have another question, then you got to wait another 10 business days. My whole hope here is to streamline your process. I've done the digging, I've done the dirty work already and wasted countless hours with the city so that you don't have to. So your job right now is to get in touch with the right mechanical companies, electricians, and maybe architectural firm if you don't have those drawings, to start the process and to start understanding what the cost will be. So now you know how to get flexibility and control of your home, save on property taxes, protect your asset, and increase your monthly cash flow. You can thank me later. I am Kyle Mark, your Vancouver Realtor, and whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, or relocate to my beautiful city, Vancouver, make sure you get in touch with me in the description below, and I hope you found a lot of value because there's a lot of good nuggets in this one today.